See, Jen Shaw, you might have been able to fool these white people. You might have been able to fool, and not even fool, guilt these white people. But see, now I'm actually a black woman. That's the thing. That's the thing. I'm actually a black woman. So I can see through your bullshit. And the main reason I'm pissed off right now is because you literally used race to get out of accountability. And that's the shit that I'm not here for. Again, none of the white people could really say anything to you. Okay? Because if they did, it would be them trying to discount you as a let's get this right, a person of color, as you keep saying, because that's what you are. You are not black. And I also, matter of fact, we're gonna get there. But the way that you used your race to get out of accountability, don't you ever sit on this fucking screen and do that shit again. You might have these white people fooled, but I know better. I know better. I'm child. Jen fucking tried it. So the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, season 1 reunion part 3. This is the last part, okay? So we start off with the husbands and everything like that. I think the only people that wasn't there was like physically there was Seth, Robert Sr. I think that's it. And then the other 2 husbands was there. Or the other 3 husbands was there. You see how boring, and I don't even pay attention to Lisa that she is? Okay. So one of the questions that's asked, they ask, you know how Indy go around, but I'm not asking all of the questions. I'm going to talk about like I normally, which is what's important to me. So he asked Coach Shah, you know, do you value football more than your family and stuff like that? And he says, no, that's not what it was. Of course, sorry, they asked about why he wasn't there for the funeral. And he was like, well, I was there for the wake. He said, you know, and she was really upset with me because I think he said he went to go see her dad before he passed, and he was kind of moving a little bit. And then when he left, he died not that much longer. And he felt like Jen kind of blamed him for that, which is like, you can't really blame me for that because he was gonna die, period. So yeah, so you know, and then Jen pretty much just says that, you know, she'll be able to let it go. She was just really dealing with the whole lot. Whatever. Jen pissed me off. So then we talk about Justin and Whitney and, you know, their relationship with the Mormon church. And Justin said he's no longer part of the Mormon church anymore. He got a letter. I said, y'all out here sending letters? Y'all out here sending letters telling people that they can't be part of the church no more? And then y'all wonder why we side out of Mormon church like that. Okay, so, you know, he was like, yeah, you know, like, I got a letter, you know, about me not being able to be in the church. And you could tell, like, he was really hurt. You could tell he wanted to cry, but he didn't. And then, you know, Heather, of course, gets emotional because, you know, she's kind of going through the same thing of being excommunicated kind of for the Mormon church. And, you know, she was like, you know, being a divorcee, you know, especially as a Mormon, it's really hard, you know. So mind you, as Heather is explaining what she's personally going through, right? Here comes Lisa. Oh, well, you know, her husband, like, he's a divorcee. He was divorced. He was married before me. And, you know, my parents were divorced and, like, his parents were divorced. Like, it's not that big of a deal in Mormonhood. It's really not that big of a deal. And again, this is what I don't understand about you, Lisa. First of all, mind your damn business. Second of all, didn't you say earlier in this damn show that you're not really from Salt Lake City, that you're from somewhere else, like you're from New York or something like that, and then you moved to Salt Lake City? So with that being said, that would mean to me that you're not all the way thoroughly entrenched in the Mormon culture the way she would be. If she was born and raised there, it's different being born and raised into something versus coming from somewhere else. And specifically, if you're saying that if you are from New York, because I think she either said New York or Chicago, one of the two. But if you're from either one of those places, specifically New York, me being from New York, of course, the way that Mormonism works out there is way different than it would in Salt Lake City. It's 2 completely different environments. It's just like how the way churches are set up. Now, you have, like, certain similarities, of course, but the way, like, people go to church in New York and the way it's set up there is not the way that it's set up in the South. In New York, people go to church. I mean, you do have people who kind of go to church a lot, but the church is not revolved around every single thing you do. In the South, at least when I lived there, everything is surrounded by the church. From the picnics to the festivals to everything is surrounded by the church. So maybe your experience is that it wasn't, you know, really that big of a deal to be a divorcee, but that's not hers and that's not his. So shut your mouth and sit over there with your divorced ass husband. And it's gonna be divorce number 2 because I can see him divorcing you. Period. So tired of Lisa and her fucking mouth. So then we get on to Robert Sr. or whatever. And you could really tell Robert Sr. he really wasn't here for the shit. You could tell he really don't like this show. But you could also tell that when like Mary was trying to control what it was that he was saying or whatever, and he was like, look, Mary's kind of doing a lot. Like, I'm gonna say what it is that I want to say. And so Andy asked him, like, what's the number one thing, I guess, that has been said about you on the show so far, or that you've heard that really irks you? And he said, number one, the fact that he her granddaddy. That's what it is. You her step-grandpappy. That's what it is. If her grandma was still alive, you would be considered her step-grandpappy. So that's what you are. Don't care. He was like, when I married her grandmother, I was 22. That says enough for me right there. Pause right there, because then... Wait, which did he say first? No, first he said, oh, when people talk about that, it's not about the money. It's absolutely about the money. And then you say, oh, well, I'm not her, how could I be her grandfather when I married her grandmother when I was 22? Those two things don't add up. You see how those two, it can't not be about the money. And then you was 22 years old and married a 50-something-year-old. Get the fuck out of here, Robert Sr. It is about the money. Mary literally just said last week, without really saying it, that it's about the money. So it just is what it is, okay? But whatever, I really don't care. So then they talk about, you know, like, how did it feel for like Robert Sr. to see Jen go at her, and how did it feel for Coach Shah to see, you know, the whole situation between Mary and Jen? And, you know, he said that he didn't like seeing it, you know, and he told her that no matter when, like, he told her, when you start this show, I don't really care what you got going on with these other ladies, but I'm not arguing with any woman. I said, yes, that's right. I love when husbands stay the hell out of it, because it's not your business. Stay out of women's business. And so he apologized to Robert Sr. He was like, I'm sorry for everything my wife said. Like, that's not the type of person she is, you know, but, you know, hopefully they can move on. So then Andy gets to Whitney, and he asks, you know, well, like, how's your dad doing? And I'm not gonna lie, this is the only part of the show that made me cry, that almost made me cry a little bit. She pretty much said that she has not talked to her dad. She has not seen her dad since her birthday. He came for her birthday, and ever since then, you know, he's gone. Now, I hope and pray that that man is just getting himself together. But normally when people do that, like, you have loved ones that's on drugs and they kind of disappear out of nowhere, a lot of times it's because they relapse. So I pray that that's not what's going on, and if so, I hope that he really gets the help that he needs. I really, really do, because like she said, like he said, we really are rooting for her damn daddy. We really are. I hope he gets it together. So then Andy moves on to Meredith, you know, and he was like, hey, you know, like, what's going on with, like, you and Seth? Like, is everything cool? You know, y'all good since the reconciliation? She's like, yep. And he was like, so everything's good? Yep. And he was like, well, you kind of not really giving the answer. You only kind of giving, like, one-word answers. And she's like, why would I talk about my marriage in this group of women? Which, I understand. I understand. I get it. So then when we come back from break, he asks... Bravo Andy asks Meredith and Seth, like, do you think this show has helped bring y'all together or pull y'all apart? Because we do know that before the show started, you had filed for divorce, but then you quickly like withdrew that or whatever, or something the case may be. And she was like, well, yeah, I filed for divorce, Seth has filed for divorce, and we have both filed for divorce before. But they did say that they feel like the show has brought them closer because it's both made them be, what did she say, like, I think accountable, yeah, for the stuff that they, you know, have done or whatever. And then, you know, Andy asks, well, you know, we know Meredith has dated. Did you date? And he said, no, I really didn't date, you know, because I was never really over Meredith. And that's why we kept saying all season long, if you've been watching my review since the beginning, I have been saying that clearly Meredith is talking to somebody else, because you could tell that he was more into her than she was into him. And there's, like, really nothing wrong with that if y'all wasn't together. But we had all seen that. It was obvious that she was seeing somebody else. It was obvious as hell to me. And so then, what we got next? I'm sorry, I lost my place, y'all. Okay, so then we get on to the whole point about Jen bringing up their whole marriage, right? Now, Jen, like she did at the end of this damn thing, pretty much tried to me, I feel like she got off damn near scot-free with this whole situation, because she was like, well, I don't really want to talk about it because they're together, it's a moot point. And Andy was like, it's not a moot point, it was actually a really big part of the damn season. And so I'm confused. You don't want to talk about it because you don't want to be held accountable. That's what Jen does. Jen does not like to be held accountable. And then she starts crying or whatever the case may be and thinks somebody's going to feel bad for her. Does Jen apologize? Yes, she does. But I feel like Jen is only apologizing now because she sees how she came across on TV. Not because she truly means it. Not because she truly really gives a fuck. I think she does it because of the perception from everybody else. That is just my humble fucking opinion. And she's like, well, I don't really want to talk about it. And then she says, well, I feel like I'm like, what did she say? Cause sorry, she did apologize. She apologized to Meredith and said she apologized to Robert Sr., all of that stuff. And she apologized. And then she was like, I just feel like, you know, like I'm getting the brunt of the whole situation because it wasn't just me. And then Heather and Whitney, they both stepped in and they was like, no, like we all kind of took part of it a little bit. But, you know, Whitney said, to be fair, I wasn't friends with Meredith at the time. I was getting to know Meredith, which is why I even asked Heather the question about this. And then secondly, what did Heather say? I think Heather was like, I forgot what Heather said, but both of them was like, well, I mean, yeah, they did say that they had a part in it, but this is the reason why you're getting the brunt of it, because you are the first one that brought it up on camera. That's why you're getting the brunt of it. The whole storyline of them two, of Meredith talking to somebody else, it comes from you, which they showed. It was that episode when you and Whitney was in the damn basement on that damn pole. You brought it up to Whitney. Like Whitney said, Whitney doesn't even know Meredith enough to even say anything like that. You brought it up on camera. You did that. Okay? And that's what started the chain of Whitney asking Heather, did you hear about that? And Heather said, yes, I did, from Jen. Now, Jen wants to say, oh, well, I did tell Heather, you know, like, because that was my best friend. And I understand telling your best friend something, but you didn't just tell her. You told Whitney too. So at the end of the day, you were trying to be messy. That's what it was. You were being messy as hell. So that's why you're getting the brunt of it. And Meredith and Whitney are not because, and Heather and Whitney are not because you're the one who brought it up on camera. And you're the one who went around and told multiple people. That's why. So, what the fuck? And like I said, I feel like with that whole situation, she got away scot-fucking-free. Not from Meredith's point, but from, like, Andy and the point, like, y'all just kind of let Jen, like, get scot-away-free. All she had to do is, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. No, but you need to be held to task. You're trash. You're fucking trash. So then we get on to the whole Vegas trip and how that went and stuff. And so Andy asked everybody, who thinks Jen... Wait, sorry. How did he phrase it? It was like, who doesn't think that Jen is as loyal as she wants people to be to her? And everybody, of course, but Lisa, because we all know that Lisa and Jen are now in fucking cahoots with each other, okay? Everybody except Lisa raises their hand. Everybody raises their hand, okay? And, Jen again goes on this whole thing like, oh, I don't understand, like, because Meredith of course says, well, of course, like, I wouldn't, I think, what did she say to Jen? She said, if I did the stuff that you did to me, would you consider me loyal? No. Okay, that's it. And she was like, but I wasn't the only person. She said, that's not what I'm talking about. And that's the thing, again, she always wants to shift blame to somebody the fuck else. The same way I'm gonna get on Teresa Goodye's ass once for my next video, because that's what I'm reviewing next, the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I have like 3 shows to review: this, Real Housewives of New Jersey, and Married at First Sight. But it's the same way. You don't want to take accountability for nothing. You just want to always say that it's somebody else. It's ridiculous. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Heather and Whitney did. She's talking about you, and she's talking to you. So you need to take, again, responsibility, okay? And so then, you know, they show, of course, Andy brings up the whole thing about, well, you know, Meredith, you were kind of upset with Jen when you felt like she was telling you to take a side, but then it seems like at the party you was a little upset with Lisa for taking Jen's side or whatever. And she was like, well, she said, I never said that Lisa had to pick a side. I never said that. And he said, well, does it upset you that she's friends with Jen? She said, no, it confuses me. Thank you very much, Meredith. Like we've all been saying, it's confusing. Like she said, she was like, I don't understand how a few days prior to that, you sat with me and you got confirmation of everything that she said about me and my family, but then you still want to befriend her. Exactly. How are you supposed to be my best friend? Oh, I wish I could bring up a situation so badly, but it's not my place. Oh, I wish I could bring up a situation so badly, but I've seen something similar to this happen. How are you supposed to be my best friend? And you found out that this bitch is going around trashing my marriage, and you're going out of your way to now befriend her. That is confusing. I'm not saying that you don't have to be friends with her, but that is confusing if you're saying that you're my best friend. And also, it's confusing, Lisa, when you just snapped out last week on Whitney and Meredith for what they quote unquote did, but you don't got no smoke for Jen. That's what we're all fucking talking about. And I knew that Meredith felt that way. She was just waiting to get there, but I knew she felt that way. So then we talk about where we at. So then we talk about Heather and Jen and their friendship or relationship or whatever. And Heather pretty much says that her problem with the Jen is that at the end of the day, you're always talking about me. And I don't understand how you could want to be friends with me, but you're always running your mouth about me. And she said that she called her, that she got her clothes off the rack and how she wanted to be an actress, but she could only play like Manti or Shrek, like some really, really mean shit that she said. And then when they come back from commercial break, because they went to commercial break, then, you know, Jen does not deny what she said. She doesn't deny saying it. It's just always, well, I wouldn't just say that. It's a reaction. That's Jen, this whole thing. I wouldn't just say stuff to just say it. It's because you did something to me, and so I did something back. And so Jen is Heather's like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And then when they ask, like, why did you snap on her? You know, why did you raise your hand and say that you didn't trust her? She went in this whole circle. She didn't even really answer the question. But this whole part right here is what really fucking sent me. This whole part right here. When they talk about when they was all in that group setting. And Jen goes, well, I'm going to be real. The reason I was really upset is because, you know, as a woman of color, which, let me stop right there. It's not that Jen is not a woman of color, but Jen tends to lean very, very heavily into acting like she's a black person. She tries to lean into the black quote unquote struggle, I guess. That's what she does so much. You are married to a black man. You have a black son, but you are not black. So yes, there are certain things that you go through, but what you need to make a distinction about is that you and Mary are not the fucking same. Like Mary said at that table, when I'm actually a black woman, okay? I'm actually a black woman. So what you need to be clear about, Jen, is that although you are a woman of color, and although some of these women, these white women on this stage, do have more privilege than you hold a shitload of privilege over somebody like Mary. And that's what I need her to understand. Stop trying to make it like it's the same, because it's not. Your experience as a Polynesian woman of color is not the same of Mary as a black woman. It's just not. It's not. I don't care if you fuck a black man. I don't care if you have black sons. It's not the same thing. It's just like if a white person, not the same thing, but I'm just saying, it's kind of like in the same vein of a white person being married to a black person and then trying to take on their struggle. It's not the same thing. Do you have your own hardships? Yes, but you need to stop comparing it to those of what your husband would be, what your sons would be, or what Mary's would be, because it's not the fucking same. And it's a slap in the fucking face. And for you to sit up there and use your quote-unquote color to say that I felt some type of way because you got a whole group of women telling me that I need to be quiet and I need to shut up and I need to not speak. First of all, you need to take that up with the psycho person, because they're the ones that was doing that. But number two, because once we get into that whole thing, you know, and she kind of gets into a back and forth, you know, with Heather. Well, sorry, I'll get to that in a second. We're gonna skip forward. When she runs to the back or whatever, and she's talking to Sharif, and she's like, I just don't understand. They don't get that as a woman of color. You're sitting here yelling at me and telling me not to talk and to be quiet, and you're accusing me of stuff I didn't do. That's where you kill me, because everything that they said in that meeting was valid. You did do all of those things that they said, and at the end of the day, in that meeting, you were not being quote unquote targeted because you was a woman of color. You were targeted because of your fucking actions. So let's get on to the next point. when she says, "Oh, it's rude to it's dangerous to call a woman of color aggressive, a woman of color aggressive." So let's get this right. Mary is a woman of color. Nobody on this cast has called her aggressive because she's not. Normally, in a lot of circumstances, I would agree that it's a little dangerous to do that. But in this situation, you were aggressive. Have you not seen your damn self on TV? You are aggressive. You are loud. You do need to shut the fuck up sometimes. That has nothing to do with you having a tint in your damn skin. If that was the case, like I said, why wouldn't they say it about Mary then? Because Mary's actually black. Your husband is actually black. Why wouldn't they say it about them? Because it fucking applies. Shout out to New York. Because it applies. And what Heather said was facts. It's true. You are being aggressive. You're being aggressive right now. You are, Jen. And it's pissing me off that you sat on this white ass channel and you really made other fucking white people watching this show believe that these other two women were actually in the wrong. In this situation, I'm on the white women's side. They're absolutely right. You was being aggressive. And nobody was coming for you because you was a woman of color. People were coming for you because of your fucking actions. That's why. Nothing to do with your race, baby girl. Nothing. And the fact that you use that, like somebody said on Twitter, it's people like you, Jen. You give credence to why people be trying to say, "Oh, y'all too sensitive. Oh, y'all use race for everything." That's why. Because of people like you. Because instead of taking accountability for your actions individually, you want to try to put it off of, "Oh, you got to be careful, this, that, and the third." And so then, I think that he asked Mary or whatever, like, what does Mary think? And Mary said that she thinks that Whitney and Heather think that they're better than people of color because they're white. I personally have not seen that. I'm not around them. I don't know. But she did also say that she thinks that that's something that's ingrained in them. I would agree. And I do appreciate the fact that every single last one of them, except Lisa, did y'all peep how when Meredith said, "We all understand that we have white privilege," and everybody but Lisa shook her fucking head? Yeah, I fucking bet, okay? They all said, "We understand white privilege. We understand that we have that." I just think that in this situation, that shit does not fucking apply. It doesn't apply because Jen is aggressive and Jen ain't black. I'm sorry. I know she didn't say that she was, but that's the plight that she tries to take on. You're not black, Jen. You're not. You are not black. Okay? Okay? All of them older pictures of you with you and Coach Shah, you don't look a lick of black. Stop with the bullshit, Jen. So then she runs into the back, like I said, and cries to Coach Shah, whatever, like, "Oh, you just don't get it, da 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 da." But again, when they was in that room, everybody was trying to hold you accountable. Bravo literally showed the way that you acted the night before, acting like a donkey ass fucking fool. But then you think that nobody's supposed to call you or check you out or check you about the shit that you did because you're a person of color. You got the right one today, Jen Shah. You got the right fucking one. And maybe if you wasn't an asshole and shit like that to Mary, then maybe Mary would have been there. And to be quite honest, I feel like even if Mary was there, Mary would have fucking agreed. You are aggressive. Mary has said it her damn self. It's not everybody else, Jen. You need to fucking take accountability for your fucking actions. Like, it fucking kills me. And then I want to bring up the fact that when I see people on Twitter like, "Oh, look at Whitney. What was that phone call with Whitney being like, oh, here comes the racist stuff?" Because Whitney probably knew that Jen was going to bring that shit up. Do y'all really think that they don't talk to each other or hear shit behind the scenes or whatever? I'm pretty sure Jen Shah probably said some shit about that, on her Twitter or whatever. It's something to be expected. That's probably why she said it. Because she probably expected that to be brought up specifically by Jen. Because that's what the fuck Jen likes to do. Jen don't want to take responsibility for anything. But I'm here to tell all white people, any white people that's fucking watching this, Jen was not attacked, in my opinion, because of her color. It's because she is aggressive and because she does not know how to control her mood swings. Even down to how she went in that room and booed the fuck who to Coach Shah. What the fuck is you crying? You're crying so hard because you're being held to task. Every single time so far, this reunion, that somebody tried to hold you accountable, it's, "Oh, I'm sorry. Because saying I'm sorry, for the most part, is the easiest way to shut some shit down. You don't want to actually have to sit there and listen to the way that your actions have affected other people. That's why you didn't want to talk about the whole thing with Meredith. Because you didn't want to be called the fuck out. And you didn't want to be held, again, responsible for the shit you did. Jen, don't you ever get on this fucking show again and sit up here and use white guilt for your fucking benefit when there's real people out here that really need that. Get the fuck out of my face, bitch.